Hi, I'm Todd Kjelland, author of Betrayed by Big Med. Today, I'm going to give you the answers to 5 questions about my book that will help you decide whether or not you need to read it. Here we go.
What do you believe healthcare workers will recognize in your story that they've experienced but never documented?
I believe healthcare workers will resonate very closely with this book because every healthcare worker in the last 5 to 10 years have been faced with the consequence of either giving up their bodily autonomy or take a furlough, which is basically a soft firing of people that are non-compliant with Big Med's policies. And what this book does is digs into the why. Why is Big Med doing this? And why are they using the methods that they do? And Betrayed by Big Med gets into those details of why masking and furlough and different things like that are thrown around like it's nothing. And it's really important to understand the differences between those. And those people that choose to read my book, you'll understand that you do have rights as a healthcare worker, and not everything is black and white as far as what they're telling you in policy and in the meetings.
How does your memoir challenge the assumption that institutional policy always aligns with medical ethics?
I think it's important to understand that the assumption is that Big Med is always right, and that they're scientifically based, and their decisions are for the good of all humanity. And that is nothing farther than the truth. And what I found out, again, was that Big Med has some very interesting incentives themselves to push these coercive type of policies upon their workers. The challenge here is to change the way healthcare workers think, and hopefully they think for themselves and not just take everything that Big Med throws at them as gospel, because there's underlying motives, and in my book I expose those.
What lessons does your documentation offer frontline workers who feel powerless against coercive mandates?
Well, I think the most important thing is to document everything. That way you have a running timeline of the different conversations that you've had, maybe with your manager or with HR or whatever. I know a lot of that, and a lot of people feel powerless because they've been put in the position of not to question. And with that coercive nature of losing your job if you don't comply, a lot of people they really do feel powerless against Big Med and the people that run these institutions. But the good news is you do have rights, you do have the ability to question. I suggest doing that in a professional way, using your documentation as proof. If you use the information that's in this book to back up what you're trying to say and the position that you're taking, there's a lot of great information in this book that can help you not feel powerless.
Why should healthcare workers understand the legal frameworks you reference, like Title VII and the Nuremberg Code?
Now, it's very important for healthcare workers to know their legal rights and to know the documentation that backs up those rights. In the case of religious exemptions, Title VII is very important to understand fully, because that's where a lot of these institutions will deceive their employees, and the employees need to research on their own that Title VII, under the religious aspect of it, they are a protected class. Just a brief explanation, I guess, that religion does not have to be an organized religion. It just has to be your deeply held belief, whatever that may be. And in my case, in the book of Betrayed by Big Med, I use the religious exemption against not only the flu vaccine for many reasons, which you can read about, but also the masking part of it. I pushed the envelope on that. Unfortunately, I got the runaround down the road. But it's important to understand that employers, they must accommodate your religious exemption. They have to prove undue hardship if they say that by allowing you this religious exemption that it's going to hurt their business. Well, in my case, they never did prove that. They would just assume, and through different court cases and different things that I studied, I understood it that they failed to uphold their duty in that aspect. And so that's why it's important to really understand your legal rights and to delve into some of these important legal documents to know what your rights are. The other thing is the Nuremberg Code. That is brought into all of this because down the road after they denied my religious exemption and everything, then I understood that they also violated my informed consent. The more you go down that rabbit hole, the more you understand how deceiving some of these institutions are and how they take advantage of you. And by knowing your rights through documents like the Nuremberg Code, you can understand that your informed consent has been violated. That also gives us some precedent to move forward with the medical battery law that we want to put in place to prevent the misuse and the misinterpretation by institutions regarding these legal documents.
If every nurse, EMT, and administrator read Betrayed by Big Med, what shift in culture or accountability do you hope would follow?
Well, first of all, I would love if every EMT, nurse, doctor, administrator would read Betrayed by Big Med, because I think it's important in the long run that we kind of corral this problem, make sure that it doesn't happen again in the future. We all have seen in the last few years what medical mandates can do, and who holds the power in that. I think what I would like to see with a felony medical battery law is some accountability. And it seems like the way things are assumed, or the way the medical industry is perceived, is the way it should be, and I don't believe that. I believe there needs to be accountability. I believe that there needs to be punishment for people that do not follow the laws that are already on the books, and that is in reference to informed consent. Informed consent, a lot of people think that whatever the doctor tells them is sufficient. And it's not. You have the right as a patient to ask every question. And I think one of the more important questions, and because of what we went through, is the doctor incentivized to do this procedure, whatever they're doing, testing or giving vaccinations or anything like that. So I think what I would really like to see is this law not necessarily punish people, but to deter them from bypassing healthcare workers' informed consent, even a patient's informed consent, because I think it's important to know why an organization is pushing a mandated policy. And if money is the sole reason, I think it does influence whether or not people will go through with the procedure or not. It seems that what happened over the last few years, that question wasn't being asked. It was just lost. And so hopefully Betrayed by Big Med will open a few eyes and lead us down a road to some legislative action. I really hope you can give it a chance. If you have any questions, specific questions or anything, feel free to ask in the comments, and I'll get to them as soon as humanly possible. And just do your own research. Some of these things that I've brought up, you can research on your own and kind of see where I'm coming from. Betrayed by Big Med is not only just a memoir of what I went through for well, a good year and a half regarding flu vaccinations and later the whole COVID thing, but it's kind of a blueprint if you're looking at how do I present a religious exemption, or how do I counteract if my employer is telling me I don't have the right to a religious exemption, or you have to have a signed religious exemption letter from your pastor or your minister or your priest. That's all falsehoods. And so by reading this book, you'll understand the system and the way it works, and hopefully I can give you some guidance in that. It's really important, if you do like this information, to like and subscribe, because I will be back with some more information and trying to answer some more questions. So thank you. Hopefully I've answered a few, and you have a great day. Thank you.